Hola mis estudiantes. Today we're going to be talking about all of our other preterite conjugations, such as funky stems, stem changers, cargar-zars, and I to Ys. Now that includes a lot of verbs, but we figured that it'd be best to give them to you all at once, so then you can practice them. Because really, out in the real world, you are not getting just cargar-zars or just stem changers. They're all mixed in together. So that's one of our goals in Spanish 3 is to really work on your comfort level in getting all of the language all at once. So please make sure that you take some good notes and jot down any questions that you have. So let's get started. Our first topic is going to be funky stems. Alright, and then we know that these, with the name, hence the name, funky stems, is that their stem, remember when we dropped that AR, ER, or IR ending, is not the same as it is in the infinitive form. So, on your notes, we've organized them, or on the video, we've organized them as like type. So this might be a benefit to use to bracket on your notes the words, or the groupings. This will make more sense once you see it. Alright, so our UV funky stems. Andar might be a new word for you, means to walk, and duv. Tener means to have, tuv. Estar means to be, and estuv. Now remember, these only work with our preterite conjugations. U verbs, poder, to be able to, or would be pud. Poner, to put or to place, pus. Saber is to know or to find out, and the preterite tense is soup. Not sup, soup. Our I funky stems. Querer, to want, is quis. Venir, to come, is vin. And then our J verbs. Now notice to start with these J verbs because their endings are just a little bit different. So decir, to say or to tell. Dich, traer, to bring. Trach, conducir, to drive. Conduch. Producir, to produce, produch. Traducir, to translate, traduch. Okay, so remember that J makes that H sound. Alright, so here are our endings. Notice none of the endings have accents on them, and then our J verbs are the ones that have the ERON instead of IERON in that ellos, ellas, and ustedes conjugation. Ta-da! Remember, none of them have accents. Alright, so we've got several opportunities for you to stop and practice. So I would like for you to go ahead and hit pause and process those 5 conjugations now, please. Thank you. Let's see how you did. You found out, oh, here we go, would be supiste. When we're going to talk about this a little bit more, some of our words have different meanings in the preterite tense and the imperfect tense. So we'll talk about that here in a little bit. She had, tuvo. I walked, anduve. They drove, condujeron. And we translated, tradujimos. Okay, so make sure you're comfortable with knowing those verbs. Next step, let's go ahead and talk about our stem changers in the flip-flop. So remember, in the present tense we have boot verbs, but in the preterite we have flip-flop verbs. So first of all, they must have a stem change in the present tense. So if it doesn't have a stem change in the present tense, it is not a flip-flop, or it is not a stem changer in the preterite. Alright, it can only be an IR verb. Alright, this is very important. Not AR and ER verbs do not stem change fully in the preterite tense. And they only have a stem change in the el, ella, and usted, and ellos, ellas, and ustedes conjugations. And then finally, we only have 2 types of stem changers in the present, or in the preterite tense, where we have 4 types of stem changers in the present tense, and that is O to U and E to I. Alright, I even think I give you a little spot for where you can kind of shade in those flip-flops, or those 2 conjugations. Alright, so here's your opportunity to stop and practice. Notice all 5 of these are going to be stem changers in the preterite tense. So go ahead and hit pause. This is your second opportunity to practice, and we'll check your answers here shortly. All right, let's see here. She preferred. Prefirió. We served. Servimos. The team, they repeated, sorry. Repitieron. The team competed. Compitió. And Raúl slept. Durmió. Notice, number 2, we served, is outside of the flip-flop, therefore we are not going to have a stem change. But all of those others, she, they, the team, and Raúl, are all third person conjugations, whether they're singular with she and the team and Raúl, or plural as in they. In the preterite tense, verbs that end in cargar zar are spelled differently than in the yo form, right? And we just talked about these with our commands. So following the same rules because, and the reason is we have this spelling change to maintain the same sound of the infinitive. So the spelling change is to keep the same sound of the verb. So here's some examples. We've got cargar zar, or we've got CAR verbs. Verbs that end in CAR change to QUE with an accent in the yo form. So we're still going to have that accent just as a regular AR ending. So let's look at some example, or let's look at one example. We've got sacar. Notice saqué in the yo form, and then all of our other conjugations are the same. Sacaste, sacó, sacamos, sacasteis, sacaron. All right, our GAR verbs change to GUE in the yo form. So, for example, jugar would be a great example. Jugué, jugaste, jugó, jugamos, jugasteis, and jugaron. Oh, there's another R in there. That should just be jugaron. Extra. And then finally, our ZAR verbs change to CE in the yo form. And an example is almorzar. And before I talk about those conjugations of almorzar, this is a great example of the difference between the present tense and the preterite tense. We know that almorzar is an O to UE stem changer in the present tense. But we know that only IR verbs stem change in the preterite, therefore it is not a stem changer. And it ends in ZAR, so it's going to have that slight spelling change in the yo form. So that's really important that we're building our preterite brain and not getting that too mixed up with our present tense. So almorcé, almorzaste, almorzó, almorzamos, almorzasteis, and almorzaron. All right. And then finally, we're going to talk about our I to Y verbs. All right. So let me click through these. I'm going to move me real quick. All right. So our I to Y verbs, very simple. They change from I to Y in the third person. So in that él, ella, and usted, and ellos, ellas, and ustedes. And we've got really two types of I to Y verbs. Okay. We've got, for example, verbs that end in EER. Okay. EER are going to have accents in all of their conjugations except for that third person plural. So we're going to have an accent on leí. We're going to have an accent on leíste. We're still going to have an accent on leyó. Leímos, leísteis, and leyeron. Okay. Creer means to believe. Okay. Creí, creíste, creyó, creímos, creísteis, and creyeron. Again, notice that those have accents on all of them except for the ellos, ellas, and ustedes. Okay. And then, I'm going to just go ahead and click through all of them. And then, construir and destruir are examples of verbs that are I to Y verbs, but they follow our same conjugations otherwise. So, notice that verbs that end in UIR are going to be I to Y verbs. Construir still has the same spelling as a regular IR verb. Construiste, still the same spelling and conjugation of a regular IR verb. Construyó, all we're doing is we're changing that I to Y. Construyó. And I bet if you say these words, you say them correctly, but it's just making sure that you write them correctly as well. Construimos, construisteis, and construyeron. Construir means to construct. Destruir means to destroy. I don't think that that's on your notes, so please make sure that you add that. And then destruí, destruiste, destruyó, destruimos, destruisteis, and destruyeron. Okay. And so any verb that end in UIR is going to be an I to Y verb. Any verb that ends in EER is going to have it's also an I to Y verb, and it's going to have an accent on all of its conjugations except for that eron, that ellos, ellas, and ustedes. Alright, so here's what I'd like for you to do. I've given you 9 verbs, and I would like for you to not only, the first line, I want you to tell me what they mean, what the conjugation is in Spanish, right? And then I want you to tell me what their English translation is, okay? So go ahead and hit pause, and we'll check your answers here once you're done. Alright, here we go. Jugar in the yo form is jugué. Construir in the ustedes form is construyeron. Leer in the yo form is leí. Sacar in the yo form is saqué. Remember, it's a cargarzar. Creer in the ella form is creyó. Navegar in the yo form is navegué. Destruir in the tu form is destruiste. Buscar, cargarzar. Busqué. Explicar in the yo form, expliqué. It's also a cargarzar. Alright, so I'm going to move myself back down. Hopefully you guys can see all of the answers. So our translations. Jugué, I played. Construyeron, you built, or you all built, excuse me. Leí, I read. Saqué, I took out. Creyó, she believed. Navegué, I navigated. Destruiste, you destroyed. Busqué, I looked for. And expliqué, I explained. We're going to be working a lot with these verbs throughout the next week or so, and I want you to really start becoming comfortable with what their conjugation patterns are in the preterite tense. So make sure that you know that buscar is obviously a cargarzar, that construir is an I to Y verb, and not only memorize those verbs, but also that words that end in UIR are going to be I to Y. Words that end in cargarzar are going to follow those small spelling changes. Okay. The others, unfortunately, with our stem changers and our funky stems, unfortunately, you're probably just going to have to memorize those. So we'll make sure that we do lots of practice, and let me know if you have any questions. Gracias!